Hi everyone, I'm Lori Halloway of the Meticulous Manicurist Nail Tutorials, where I'm setting a new standard in nail education, providing explicit instructions and utilizing real life, real situations for real learning. And today I'm going to teach you how to create a beautiful set of rose gold nails, so stay tuned. Don't forget to follow the Meticulous Manicurist on your social media sites and click that subscribe button to know when I upload the next video. Okay, so first, before we get started, I'm going to show you what I use to make my rose gold mix. So this is the color that we're going to do for the rose gold, and to get that, I mixed C&D's Perfect Pink Cool acrylic powder with like a 1/8 of a teaspoon of this bronzed salmon glitter, another 1/8 of a teaspoon of the Boogie Nights Life called Lights, and to get this pink powder, I mixed the same C&D Cool Pink color with a tiny bit of, where did I get it? I made this pink color pigment out of additives for C&D. It was like a red, and I mixed it with their like opalescent white. But you can be creative and mix any kind of pigments together to get what you want, but make sure that they are like additives and really fine milled pigments so it doesn't interfere with the acrylic adhesion on your nail plate. So before I get started, I'm going to show you what we're going to go from. I did this set, I don't know, it's been like 4 weeks ago, and they were almond shaped then. And yesterday I started playing. We're going to turn them into coffin shape. And this is colored acrylic, so I've got to file all of this off with my e-file. But before I start to file, we're going to push back the cuticles and show you. See this adhered white skin that's on my nail plate? All of that has to be filed off too. So when you push back your skin with the cuticle pusher, you can see that white color. That needs to be filed off. And you should never file your natural nail with an electric file. Not with the sanding band, not with the metal bit, nothing. It files off way too much of the nail, and you're going to get little hot spots. And even trained professionals tear up people's nails with the file. You shouldn't do it. And I'll get comments about, oh, trained professional. I'm a trained professional and I do it to myself all the time. Even on the lowest speed, an electric file rotates 53 times per second. And when you can file off the tritium off of a nail plate with like a few strokes of a nail file, why would you file layers of your fingernail off 53 times per second? And you're touching the nail plate for several seconds. So you're just thinning out the nail plate, and you know, you'll get these little pink hot spots and it hurts like a bitch. So just don't do it. So we're going to push back all of this cuticle. See this white stuff? That's all dead skin. And then if you see any dead skin on the sides of the nails, like here, you're going to want to file the actual cuticle area too. So before I even file off with the electric file, and I'm going to put all of that in fast forward, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I mean about filing the sides. See this dead skin here on the side? It's like, you know, potential hangnail in a week. So just file it this way and this way. and you'll remove that. And then literally all you need to do, you can use your fingernail file to push back the cuticle area, but you're just going to lightly go across the nail plate to remove the shine and to remove any little bits of skin, because the acrylic will lift if it doesn't have perfect adhesion on the nail plate, if there's anything interfering with it. So just very lightly, and see, that's all it takes. See that little hot spot? That's where I hit my own nail, and I was being very careful. I was trying to just give myself a little buff and polish with the electric file, and it just goes too fast. You know, you're using super light pressure and it still can cause damage. So right now we're only focusing on the natural nail. And now to get rid of all of this old color, I'm going to use my electric file, and I'm just going to very lightly go over the whole nail plate to remove all of that acrylic. So you can see that I've left a tiny bit of color on the nail, and I'm just going to use my hand file. It's always easier to make a set of nails when you put the shape in first and not try to file the shape into the nail. So this nail is the nail that we're going to extend a little bit, because you can see it's shorter than the other nails, and this shaped nail looks better and more feminine with a little bit more length on the nail. These nail files you can find on my online store, and the link is in the description. These are one of the best 150 grit files I have found. We gotta correct that shape too. Can you see how that's kind of jacked up? Okay. So you have to remove all of the dust off of your acrylic nails. Get down in those cracks really well. So primer only goes on the natural nail. You don't need to put primer on top of any little bit of acrylic. And since there's a tiny thin layer still on top of my nail, you do not need to put primer there. If you do, it will yellow your acrylic. So you're going to set your bead of acrylic on the nail a little bit away from the cuticle, and then you're going to press it down into place. And this is setting up a little quickly, so I'm just going to add a little bit of a liquid to give myself a little bit of extra time. You always want to look down the nail to make sure that everything is shaped nice, that you don't have any lumps or bumps. Then I'm going to get a really small bead for the tip. And then I'm going to smooth it backwards. And if you notice any little bit of shape adjustments, you want to press your acrylic to fill in any gaps or holes. And then we want to look at it from the side, and it's a little flat right here, and we want a little bit of an arch. And if you had an extended nail, or a sculptured nail, this is where the extra strength would need to be, where it met the nail. Now when you're applying acrylic, you want to apply it as thin as you can so you don't have to do a lot of filing. Now with these, we're going to do a little French on the tips, and we're going to do reverse. Going to put on a second coat of primer. Probably going to get a few little pieces of glitter. I should have done these first, or used a different brush. Alright, so I'm going to teach you how to extend a nail without using a form. If you ever have something that's crooked or just needs a tiny bit more length, you want to wait until the acrylic is starting to get really, really firm. And then we're going to press into it to make it longer. So right now you can see I've got this little dip right here on the edge that's shorter. So I'm going to press and I'm going to pull with my brush. And see how you can get length there on the end. But you don't want it to be runny so it, runs down underneath the nail, which always happens when you use a nail form anyway. It gets in between the form and under the nail. And so now I'm going to make this side a tiny bit longer. I'm just going to set the bead there, leave it alone for a second. So see how now that they look kind of even. Before it was just a little too short. Now you're going to have to, if you're doing this on yourself, you're going to have to get your hands in some awkward positions. It's really much more difficult to do your own nails than it is to do a client. You can hold on to a client's fingers and twist and move into the right place. But your own nails, it's really, really difficult. So sit it away from the nail and then press it so it's really thin down at the cuticle line. Anything that touched the skin off the skin before it dries. No, it's not. And remember never to touch your nail with the brush that has liquid in it before the acrylic mixture touches it, because it'll ruin the bond between the acrylic powder mixture and your nail. So like if this was natural nail and I were doing this, I'm gonna make my nail lift at the end because I've now contaminated the area with acrylic liquid. Now remember that this nail is the one I needed to correct this shape on the side. So I'm going to let that mixture set up a tiny bit and press it down. So just like how I wanted to, how I extended that one, I'm going to extend the side of this nail by just pressing that mixture over, making sure it's not too runny, that it doesn't just run over the side. Messing with forms is a huge waste of time. I hate forms more than anything. Try to avoid using them no matter what. Unless you have to, make a whole new sculpted nail, then you have to use it. But for little tiny fixes here and there, you really don't need to use them. Saves you lots of time. Of that I can correct with filing. I think it still needs a tiny bit of height right there. Always make sure you clean out your brush really well with your acrylic liquid. Let me move this into frame so you can see it. And you're going to get little glitter bits down into your acrylic pump if you're using a pump. So you want to just either get a piece of cotton and soak that out, or just use your brush to pull out the rest of it. And always make sure all of the liquid is out of your brush. If it's not, it'll harden and your bristles will get really stiff. Okay, so now when you file your nails, you're going to make sure that you peel back the skin to make sure that nothing is touching the skin. Now I know, see a little bit right there because I added that on late, so I've got to make sure I file that off. It's easier to do this before you start filing, or you can use your nail file when you're filing and just push it down. Like I've said in some of my other videos, try to stick to a routine when you're filing. You're always going to do your sidewalls, your cuticle area, then across the full nail shape, and then refine the edge. Because once you do all of those steps, you have very little to perfect or file in the center. We're only using from here to here this much of the nail file to get down into this cuticle line to file that shape, because you want it to be blended as flush as possible. And then it's blended flush here and here, so you can feel the nail file kind of touching your skin on each side. So I'm just pressing up with my thumb and pressing down with my finger to try to keep my finger in the same spot. It's hard to file your own nails. So I'm always, drawing a perpendicular line down my fingernail, and imagining the center, and trying to make sure that everything is nice and shaped evenly. So when you're filing off, to taper the nail shape on each side, now you've got to take this corner off so it looks tapered from the top. See how that looks so much nicer? I'm drawing an imaginary line from the center of my nail down so I can find the center of this tip. Now I need to adjust. Alright, I'm just going to give one more final go around, make sure that my shape is just right. Sidewalls, tip, taper to the baseline, flush with my skin on the sides, tapered at the tip. These are my favorite buffers. It's a 240 grit sanitizable file. You can also find these on my online store. Now when you're doing a client's nails at the salon, before they go wash their nails, you never apply cuticle oil. Because you don't know if that client is using soap in there to get off all of the oil. Send them to wash, you polish their nails, and then you put on cuticle oil. So the oil stays on their nail to moisturize everything. Our finished product. Here are some other great videos for you to check out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.